Hello everyone, welcome to my art class. It's Monday afternoon. Oh, sorry. It was coming out of my mobile, you know what I'm like. Anyway, welcome to the art class. And today I've got a lovely guest she only lives up the road to me, and she's called Rossana Leal. And she set up a charity to help refugees, especially around here, because so many refugees just turn up on the beach. But and before I introduce her, I just want to say that last week people really loved all the pictures everyone did of Fat Tony. People were just going to me, like, ringing me up and they go, oh, those pictures were amazing. So I hope you do such lovely pictures this week as well. And remember, send them into Isolation Station Hastings. And if you want to make it even more exciting, you can put in a picture of yourself with it, so I know what you look like. Oh, hello, Helen Hill in there. Hi, Davey. See, when I met Rossana through David McLean, because he was my friend from London, and he came to visit her, and so we met because he was her friend from school in Scotland. But we've got another mutual friend as well. Oh, hi, Jennifer Corker. Hi, Catherine Farr. Hi, Despo. Hi, Una. Hi, Debbie Darlings. Hi, Karen. Hi, Brian. Hi, Abkra. I don't know how to say that, but it's a nice name. Hi, Pauline. Hi, Leslie. Right, let's get to it. So, Rosanna's just going to do one pose. So, hi, Fatima. So you can either do a couple of pictures or one big picture, whatever you fancy. But she's a very pretty, lovely girl, so I'm sure you'll enjoy drawing her. So, and also, if you want, you can donate to her charity. The link is on my Facebook page and it will pop up here. It's to help the refugees. And I'm sure when you'll hear the story and what they do to help people, you'll really want to give something. But I understand that a lot of us are quite hard up at the moment. So if you can't afford it, don't feel bad at all. All right? So, welcome, Rossana.
Hello. Hey.
Hi, Rossana. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. Rosanna's probably only about 300 yards away from me. And then Katie is doing all the back works about 200 yards. So we're all very close, although we're not meeting. Hi, Jill. So I think so. Hi, Tom. Hi, Nicola Marie. See all the. Hi, Nina Brooke. Oh, hi, Michelle. Another one who lives down the road.
Oh.
So anybody, if you just want to start drawing, and then I'm going to start chatting to Rossana. If you've got any questions for her, please type them in. Oh, John Daniel, is that your neighbour?
My next door neighbour.
Jennifer Corker. Do you know Jennifer?
No, I don't think so.
She does lovely embroidery pictures. They're lovely.
Oh, I need to meet her then.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. So everyone, if you just want to start drawing, you know my rules. Draw whatever you fancy. Leave in this, leave that out. Do what you want to do. Do one big picture. Do lots of little pictures. But whatever you do, don't feel bad and think you've done anything wrong, because you can't do anything wrong when you're drawing in my art class, because whatever you do is worthwhile. So let me ask you some questions. Oh, look, Davies, he's talking in his Scottish voice. Hi again. Hi, Tara. These are like the regular. Oh, hi, Martin. Sue's here at the easel in Finsbury Park. So every week, you see, we get to know the people. And there's a few from my original art class at the fountain. Despo goes and Karen go to the fountain. But others are just new from all over the world. So I'm going to ask you about what it was like when you were a child in Chile.
So, well, I was in Chile till I was at least 8 years old.
Yeah.
And what I've got mixed memories, really. I mean, I was quite young when the coup happened, which is the event that made my family have to leave.
Yeah.
And I've got memories of a very hot and lovely, friendly place, a very almost carnival atmosphere. Is remember from it. I come from a fishing town, funnily enough, a fishing town. Yeah. So I remember the fishing area, the fishermen, the fishing wives. I have memories of going to the port quite a lot, eating lots of seafood. Lots and lots of seafood as a child. Yeah, I've got some lovely memories of Chile.
Yeah, and what I say, I'm not very good at history. What happened at the coup? Why was there a coup?
So in 1970, a government was elected that was elected on the basis of a manifesto where they were going to nationalize all the industries and make education free. Many of the things we take for granted here, they were going to they had a plan to ensure that everybody had access to education, that they were going to eradicate poverty. And in order to do that, they needed to nationalize the industry, so ensure that the money made from the beautiful things that we have, the natural resources that we have in Chile, would stay in Chile and they wouldn't go out of the country. That essentially they would stay in Chile to pay for all these things.
Yeah.
The thing is that most of these countries can be quite happy if you keep some of the money inside the country and spend it on these things. But that president, who was really loved, and he kept getting more and more votes every year. There would be like a little plebiscite to ask whether people were still in support of this government. And every year he got more and more of the vote, especially from the poor people that were benefiting from some of the changes. But in 1973, there was a very, very violent, ferocious coup, which was supported, unfortunately, by the United States. The presidential palace was bombarded by hawker hunters. That's what my kind of visions that I have on television of hawker hunters bombing and the president dying, defending democracy. And many people were rounded up and incarcerated, tortured, and sent into exile. And my father was one of those people that was arrested in 1975, 76. He was arrested and tortured, really badly tortured. And so in 1976, we had to get out of Chile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you do that?
Well, it was my mum, who's no longer with us, actually. She passed away at the end of last year. My mum was a very, very interesting, amazing woman. I don't know where she got the strength that she got to do the things to essentially save, her family's lives and get them to a better country. She was a teacher in Chile. And she was warned to get out of Chile. There was a second round of repression was coming round, and she was warned to get out. And she put us all on a bus. She spent her last salary that she had as a teacher that day. She basically bought tickets for us to get on a bus and take us to Argentina. It was really, it was a desperate way of just getting us out of Chile.
And was your dad with you?
No, my dad had to. So my dad had been arrested and tortured and so on, and he'd been allowed back out, but he'd had to get out of the country straight away after that. So we didn't know where he was. He'd had to get out. We didn't know where he was. We thought, my mum told us later, she thought he might be in Argentina.
Yeah.
And so she bought these tickets so that essentially she said to us that she had decided she'd get on that bus with us and she would just carry on the bus until it was daylight.
And was there four children?
4 children, yeah, the 4 of us.
4 children?
Yeah, 2 brothers, a younger sister. So my youngest sister is 52. Yeah. 51, 52. So we were all, at the age then, she would have been about 7, 8. My brothers, so we're all just over a year. I think my oldest brother would have been about 11 at the time. So we were all kids.
Alone with 4 children?
Alone with 4 children, a couple of suitcases, the photographs, the family photographs, which I now own, beautiful.
Oh,
I don't know why, how, but she just put a whole load of family photographs, they're black and white photographs of our grandparents and so on. She put them all in a plastic bag. She had some shoes. She had a thing about shoes. She had packed lots of shoes for us because she said, whatever happens, I don't want my children to be walking around barefoot. She didn't know what was going to happen, really. She did know that there were United Nations offices in Argentina that were helping Chileans get out of Argentina. Because when we got to Argentina, you're talking about 1976, there had been a coup in Argentina too. And by all accounts, the violence in Argentina was much more horrific than what happened in Chile. So we had kind of jumped out of the pan into the frying pan.
Yeah.
And when we actually, I mean, this is the bit of the story I wanted to tell you about. You know, when you take risks and you think, you throw everything up in the air and you just go, whatever happens, happens. And sometimes that actually means that a better something happens. And it's a risky thing to do, but sometimes it works out for the best. So we were on this bus and my mum just was, just holding her breath saying, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I don't know where we're going, blah, 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 blah. And we got to one of the bus stations. It was still dark and we were all meant to be quiet and sleeping. But my oldest brother was looking out of the window of the bus and he saw my dad standing there. We hadn't
Your
seen
dad?
Yeah, he saw my dad standing there with another man. And by complete coincidence, it turns out that my dad was in Argentina. He was waiting for other Chileans who were escaping. They would wait for them at the station to help them out, to give them food or money or whatever they needed. And there he was. We bumped into my dad. So we bumped into my dad in Argentina and were able to then make the journey together to Buenos Aires.
Doesn't it? You wouldn't really believe it that it could happen.
Yeah. Life is full of coincidences. I have found, actually, that unexplainable. Sometimes you don't need to, magic realism, as Latin American literature is known for. Sometimes magic realism is actually our life. It just happens. It can be quite magical and extremely realistic.
I know. So then what happens? Oh, this is thrilling. I'm thrilled about your life history.
Yeah, so we made the journey to Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
And there is where there were United Nations hotels. You could ask for refuge, which is a human right. So when somebody is escaping a situation in their country, they're fleeing for their life, which is what we were. There are laws, there are international laws, United Nations laws, which mean that if you apply for asylum, then legally you should be helped. And so we were lucky that there was a United Nations office in Argentina that my parents went to every day, asking for refuge, there were queues there every day. People all over Latin America were going into this sort of queuing to get into this office to ask for refuge. And we were in a situation where we managed to get in, and then there was, paperwork going on there. You had to explain why you were seeking refuge. And my mum told it, sometimes we were given refuge. For example, she said we were given refuge in Canada. They said, we'll take the whole family except for mum. Or Holland said, we'll take the whole family except for the two boys and the dad. And often the families were so desperate to get out that families were broken up. People just went for and this was only paperwork trails. This is paperwork going wrong. But my mum refused to split the family up, and she just would say, no, until we were given refuge in the United Kingdom. We were interviewed. We went to meet some government officials.
Or English government officials.
English government officials. That would be the diplomatic corps. It must have been. They were ever so posh, and they asked us why we wanted to go to the UK. Apparently, I said it was because I wanted to marry a prince.
I mean, at this time, you're a child, were you feeling nervous and frightened, or was it just seem like a normal life for you? Can you remember if you felt like stressed out or?
I remember feeling scared. I felt scared because my parents were scared, and it's really difficult for a child to see when the parents are scared, because you become the parent almost. You think that you have to protect them.
Yeah.
So within that context, so you have to protect them, means that you have to be quiet, you have to help them, achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So we never talked about how we felt as a family, as a
Yeah.
it was just something you just had to do. You just had to get on with things, to achieve, to get what you needed to survive in a way. But yeah, we were scared, and Argentina particularly was extremely chaotic, and the refugee hotels in Argentina were often raided by the secret services from Chile. They were going into refugee hotels and targeting and dragging people out, and we witnessed a couple of those situations in those hotels. Chaos. It was really chaos then.
And so how long were you in Argentina? Did you come to England by boat or by plane?
Oh my God, can you imagine? We came to England in a British Caledonian aeroplane, I'll have you know. We were escorted onto a United Nations flight from Buenos Aires. It was a British Caledonian flight, and I remember it really vividly because I thought the air hostesses were absolutely beautiful. They looked like little dolls. They were wearing the tartan hats and so on, and I remember feeling how this was just a magical situation. We were on this plane with these beautiful air hostesses, wearing all the tartan, and how friendly everyone was, really. Yeah.
What happened when you arrived in England?
So we were met at the airport by the people who were part of, I now know, were the joint working group. The joint working group was made up of volunteers nationally in the UK, and it was made up of people who were helping the Chilean refugees who were arriving as refugees from everywhere, really. These volunteers took us to a refugee hotel, which was in West London, near Holland Park.
Yeah.
And each family was in a room. We were given the basement room for all of my family there. And this hotel was run by volunteers, by people who were helping people like us start a new life in the UK. And I do remember feeling really confused that these people could be so amazing, could just be there for us.
Yeah.
It's something that's always stayed with me. Why does someone decide to help you? They don't know you, they know nothing about you, but they've taken that 2 seconds sometimes that it takes to show you some form of empathy. And as a child, that made a massive difference to me, to see empathy in these people's eyes.
Could you speak English?
No, we spoke no English. My mum spoke a little. She could say, she'd learned at university, but no, we as children didn't speak a word of English. So all communication was in some of the volunteers spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
There was one of the volunteers was called Helen. I always remember her. She had great Spanish, and we would communicate through that. But it was always just, ways in which people would cuddle you, or the way people look at you is really important. If they show empathy, it's really important. You start to trust people.
Yeah. So then how did you get to Scotland, where you picked up this marvellous accent?
Exactly. So the best was yet to come, really. After about a month in the refugee hotel, all of these families were waiting to be dispersed in the way that they are, refugee families are now, I guess. We were told, my mum was told, that we were going to Scotland, that we'd been adopted by a Scottish community. So I know, and I always remember her. She came running to us as children and said, "Oh, it's really exciting. we are going on the next step of our trip, and we are going to the land where giant men wear skirts.
That must have been thrilling.
It was absolutely thrilling. I just had this idea of giant men wearing skirts. It was something like of a fairy tale book, really.
Yeah.
So we started the journey to Scotland. We were met in Scotland when we arrived at the town called Cowdenbeath in Fife. We were met by the National Union of Mine Workers, a delegation of the people who essentially, they were the ones who had decided to adopt us, and they kitted out a house for us. The women, I mean, and they all looked amazing. There was a Scottish pipe band waiting for us.
You thought that happened everywhere you went.
Exactly, and they were wearing the tartan, and they did indeed look like giants. I remember the woman who gave us the keys. She had a really beautiful short blonde hair and rosy cheeks, big rosy cheeks and big blue eyes. She looked like a doll as well.
And then, so did they sort of give you money? Because obviously your parents couldn't work straight away, could they?
Yeah, so the first thing anybody, and that hasn't changed actually for most refugees, the first thing people have to, and most refugees want to, is to start learning English in order to find work as soon as possible. So both my parents had to register with the local college, which was in Edinburgh, and they would attend English lessons with all the other refugees and to learn English as soon as possible. My dad was a welder in Chile, and so it was really, for him, it was quite fast. He was learning English, but quite quickly he was helped by the miners to translate his welding qualifications. So I think it's easier when you have a skill to translate what you do, because actually they could see that he was a very good welder, and so he passed and was able to transfer his qualifications. And my dad was really quickly working in the shipbuilding industry, in the oil rigs, as a welder. So he started work pretty much straight away. Yeah.
Oh, that must have given him so much self-esteem and everything, mustn't it, to know he was I think there's a couple of questions I can see on my phone coming up. There we are. Here's a question for you. Were there any other refugees with you?
Yeah, there were. When we arrived in Scotland, we were one of the women who met us with the Chileans. She was living in Kirkcaldy with her family. She made us a really beautiful Chilean meal when we arrived. Actually, there were, I would say in the whole of Scotland there might have been about 100. I don't know, about 80 to 100 families in the whole of Scotland. And in Cowdenbeath, we were the only ones in Cowdenbeath, but in Fife, I think there might have been about 6 families.
Oh, yeah. So did you sort of meet up with them at all? Or?
Yeah, there was a lovely Chilean community there. We used to meet, we used to eat Chilean empanadas. We commemorated the 11th of September, which was the day of the coup. Every year we would have a march in Edinburgh, and all of the Chileans would go, and all of these lovely Scottish people who were there with us right from the beginning, they were always there with us, marching every 11th of September.
And how long did it take you to pick up your lovely Scottish accent?
Well, we had a bit of a competition in our house as to who would learn English first. All the children, and we were really naughty because we decided we would learn English as quickly as possible, so my mum and dad couldn't understand what we were saying. So we were to speak really quickly in English between each other, so that it was our secret language. So then our parents had to really, really learn quickly as well.
And how long did it be before you met English people, or Scottish people, I mean, to be your friends like Davy and Richard?
I mean, we only stayed in Cowdenbeath for about a year in the end, because my parents wanted to work and study, and everything was in Edinburgh really for them.
Yeah.
So we moved to Edinburgh quite quickly, about a year afterwards, and I went to school. We all went to school, to different schools. So in Edinburgh, this is where I met Davy and Richard and some of my sort of long-lasting friends were made really in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I mean, then I went to school in Edinburgh, and then, you know, many years later I went to live in London. But Edinburgh is still my home. It's still a place that I go to. I call home, and it's still the place that I go home to see my childhood friends.
Yeah. So do you call Edinburgh home rather than you call Chile home?
Yeah. I mean, Chile was very much part of a childhood. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with what happened to my family in Chile. Chile is still a place that hasn't quite got to terms with what they did to people. You know, how they treated people so badly, and so it's a difficult place for me to live in. Whereas Scotland is the place that gave me refuge. It's the place that gave me my home. It's the place that gave me the safety to grow up as a normal young woman, if you could call me normal.
Of course you are.
Yeah. What's he saying?
Dave wants to know what you used to wear. You were a rude girl.
I was a bit of a rude girl. I all of my family, but we all followed fashion as much as possible. But we didn't want to just follow fashion. We always wanted to be alternative and be different from everybody else. So, so for a while I was a rude girl. Yes, very much. I was into two-tone. I used to love all the two-tone stuff. I was a bit of a modette, and then became.
Have that funny haircut, short on here and long bits sticking out the side.
Yeah.
Long fringe.
The bobs. So yeah, and I think that's probably at the time that I met Davey, actually. But then we all became trendy.
Was he a rude boy?
He wasn't a rude boy. When I first met Davey, he had do you know the singer from Dead or Alive that used to have like really spiked up hair?
He Burns.
Yes.
Is that what Davey looked like?
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. And Davey says as well, what was your brother's legendary club?
Oh yeah, my brother's legendary club. So we really got into. We loved life in Edinburgh. Edinburgh was a really exciting place.
I mean, your family sounds such a lovely family. Like they're willing to accept new things and be brave.
We got really involved in everything, and my brothers loved music. They loved, and so they started exploring DJing and so on. But they hooked up with a group of people from the Edinburgh Art College, and it turns out that they were all gay activists, and they were really, really involved in the fashion scene, and they ran some of the best clubs in Edinburgh. So my brothers hooked up with a group of people who essentially mentored them and were able to give them the spaces to DJ. And so the first club that my brothers were running, and they must have been about 15, 16, they were all quite young, was called El Cambalache.
Yeah.
It was a place, it was in a basement of a pub, and it should only really have probably had about 100 people in it, but it used to get absolutely rammed, and they used to play Latin and jazz music and disco, and they just used to pick up a massive mixture. But you had to get really dressed up to go to this club. You couldn't go in if you were scruffy at all. Everyone used to get really dressed up to go and dance.
It seems like you really blended it with. Were people ever horrible to you because you were refugees or anything?
I don't remember anything apart from one event, and my best friend at the time, I'm still in touch with Morven, and she was a punk. And we were on a bus once, and on the back of a bus, and some kids started calling me a chinky in the Scottish way. And she turned round and really shouted at them and said, "She's not a fucking chinky, she's Chilean." And that's all I really remember.
I was chinky when I was a child. I used to hate it. So
really?
very nice, but they sort of, as I got older, they grew bigger. To be honest, in pictures of a child, I look like a Vietnamese boat child.
Yes, yeah.
Rice, to change the subject. What's your necklace? Is that a spider?
It is. So I'm wearing, this is a lapis lazuli necklace from Chile. Lapis lazuli only grows in Chile and in Afghanistan. And so we wear lapis lazuli a lot. And this is a lapis lazuli spider. The spider it means creative woman in the Mapuche indigenous culture of Chile. So my mum gave me this many, many years ago. And so I always wear it with pride. I mean, it has a lot of meaning for me, but in particular the Mapuche indigenous meaning of creative woman.
Oh, Stephen, thank you. That was a lovely question. Right then. So then what happened? Why did you come to London?
So I think I came to London at the same time as quite a few of my friends were coming to London to really just, I was a young girl. I would have been about 18. And I went to London just to really find out there was music. I was really into acid house music at the time, and clubbing and dancing. And my world had become smaller in Edinburgh, and I really wanted to branch out. And I felt there was something else that I could do. There was something else to life other than what I was seeing in Edinburgh. And sometimes I wish I'd stayed in Edinburgh, but I wanted to find out what was going on in London. There was also the big Chilean community was here, and I wanted to hang out with the Chileans and find out what was happening there. And then I decided I was going to study. So I applied to what was then the North London Polytechnic.
The University of Holloway Road, as I like to call it.
The University of Holloway Road.
Yeah.
They had the humanities section in the Prince of Wales Road in Camden.
Oh yeah, I know it.
And I applied as a mature student, I applied to go to college there to do Spanish and Latin American studies and women's studies. I studied feminism.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of left Edinburgh really to do all these things, to try and, I guess, really find what was going on, what I wanted to do, find out what I wanted to do with my life, really.
Yeah. So what did you do when you finished university?
So I then did a master's. I did a master's in health education and promotion at King's College. And I decided to really concentrate on, at the time, we were learning a lot about HIV and AIDS awareness and how it was working. And I really, really wanted to try to understand how the Latin American community in London was coping with HIV and AIDS, and what kind of support the community was kind of getting to understand how this worked, and so I decided my master's was really as a way of trying to understand this. So I dedicated my dissertation was looking at the Latin American community in HIV and AIDS awareness. Mm-hmm. And then I did work. I mean, during my studies, I did work in a family planning clinic called Mary Stokes. So, because I was always really interested, obviously, in health education and women in particular. And so I did work at Mary Stokes' house in reception and then as an advisor, and then moved on from there. I fell into what was then community engagement and regeneration, because after my master's, I was working somewhere where there were lots of different kind of community engagement projects were happening, and I sort of happened to be in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
A fund had been won to set up a refugee mentoring project to kind of hook people up with employment opportunities, refugees with employment opportunities. So I jumped at that.
Yeah, I bet.
And then from then on, I that's what I did. I worked in community engagement and regeneration projects until I came to Hastings.
And how long ago did you come to Hastings?
So I moved to Hastings 4 years ago almost now.
And why did you decide to move here?
So there were different reasons. London had exhausted me. I was tired. There were lots of things going on in East London, particularly when I had lived on all of the time I'd been in London. I'd lived in Whitechapel, the Hackney area, and there were things that were making me really happy about and happy about how there were many changes going on in the area that weren't actually involving local people. And where I wanted to run away, initially we decided to move to back to Edinburgh, to Scotland, and we did try that. We put all of our belongings in a van and drove to Edinburgh. We rented a house for 6 months to try and see if we could buy anywhere, and it didn't work out because it was too expensive. It was really expensive. Edinburgh is really, really expensive. So we thought, what do we do now? You know, what happens now? And we had lots of friends living in Hastings, and we decided to come and check it out.
Yeah.
And it was in July. We arrived in a van. We decided to come and check it out, and it was a hot summer's day. We drove on the seafront, and it felt like Costa del Sol or Miami. And we were like, what have we been doing? In Scotland was also, my partner said to me, you know, it felt like it was cold in the summer in Edinburgh when we were there. So we decided, no, we'll give it a try. But those 6 months were really important for me to really home in on how I had felt about Edinburgh as well. About, you know, I saw lots of my old friends, and lots of my old friends who had lived abroad as well. They were all going back to Edinburgh. So it was a great 6 months for me to home in on how I felt about the place, and how it was still my home, and how beautiful Edinburgh is. But then we decided to Hastings won. We decided to come and live in Hastings instead.
It's a lovely place here.
It is.
So now we're going to get on to, before I get on to what Rosanna's doing now, has anyone got any questions that need to be asked? Oh, Karen from Dundee. Hello. Oh, someone likes your necklace. Lapis is gorgeous.
It's beautiful lapis, yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's my sister-in-law. Hi, Emma.
Oh, lovely.
My nephew is only 8. He'll be drawing you.
Oh, mine. I love it.
Hi, Francesca Luther King. Haven't seen you on this before, I don't think. So, right. So you came to Hastings. Did you have a job or anything lined up, or
nothing?
How did you start this marvelous charity? If you can tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, when we arrived here, I was still working 3 days a week in London. So I was traveling for 3 days, you know, working over there and keeping things going. And I had thought, I can do that, and I can come to Hastings and actually just chill out. The sea is beautiful to just relax, and it's so therapeutic. And so I felt I really needed that. But at the same time as we arrived here, the refugee crisis was really, really getting worse, and we were seeing the images of people on the boats, people drowning, the image of the little boat with the little boy who died, that we all remember, who was found drowned on the beach, you know, and we were being bombarded by those images, and there was a way in which I had tried to live my life, not just as a refugee, not someone who has a refugee background. Sometimes you don't want to talk about that background all the time because you don't want it to be what defines you. But when you start to see images like that, and you have the background that I have, you can't turn a blind eye to it. You can't pretend it's not happening. And then I also realized, because I didn't know anything about Hastings at all, really, I knew little things, but I didn't know that the current MP of the time was the MP for the Home Office, MP. And I thought, well, hold on a moment. I can't just be living in Hastings with my refugee background and have access to the Home Secretary, because the Home Secretary doesn't have to meet everybody, but she has to meet her constituents. So I felt we had access to try to speak to her, to tell her about the plight of people seeking refuge. But also I thought at the time, wouldn't it be amazing to set something up? I kind of remembered what my upbringing, you know, how I had been met in Scotland. And I thought, wouldn't it be amazing to set something up, something like that, which encourages local people to welcome the newly arriving refugees to this area. So the idea to set up this charity was really based on my own experience. There are other buddy projects out there. They're in other places, and they work in a different way. But certainly this one was very much based on the fact that I knew that when somebody is seeking refuge and has gone through such a traumatizing experience, the fact that somebody cares, nothing about them, means so many things, so much, and it gives you strength. So so it's that little thing that we now match. What we do is we match local people up with newly arriving refugees, and they can do really simple things like have a coffee, a phone call, and then the friendship starts to develop. And then actually what we have now is some beautiful friendships, just a whole load of beautiful friendships.
Because I hate it, when people are horrible about refugees coming to our country, doing this and doing that, you think these people are desperate. That's why they're coming, because they're so horrible. I mean, what you said, the things people go through, they're so desperate, they risk their lives to come here, don't they? And sometimes they lose their lives.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm glad you came to hear.
So, can people volunteer to be buddies, or have you got enough now?
Yeah, we're actually doing an online induction to keep ourselves busy. We're doing an online induction. So to become a buddy, you have to register, and then we invite you in for an induction so you can see how we work. And we were meant to do one of those just before lockdown. So we've decided to do it. Instead, we're doing it on the 25th of June, I think it is, 25th of May. We're doing an online induction that we have lots of people signed up to. So, we're always open for people to join. We do have more buddies than we have refugees at the moment. That's the only thing.
Arrive.
But there are so many things that people can do. So so some people might be shy about being matched with a family. So we don't, so we'll get you to do other things. So we've got somebody, for example, who's amazing at the moment. She just does all our social media, runs around anything that we need for our social media. She turns it around really quickly. So that's what she does to help. People do what they can and what they feel comfortable, and the idea is that you're part of a network, a network that welcomes refugees, as opposed to how some people would like us to behave.
No, it's bizarre. I can't really understand it. And because I went to one of your events in the shop on the seafront, and you could hardly move, could you? It was so packed, and everyone had made food, and everyone was jolly and chatting. It was, I couldn't stay very long. I was going to, but it was lovely. Oh, what's the charity called? So
the charity is called the Refugee Buddy Project. Refugee Buddy Project. And then if you
give it on my Facebook page if you want to give some money to them, because what do you do you give the refugees money, or do you just look after their social welfare? Or
so we work really closely with the borough, with Hastings Borough Council. They have key workers that work with the refugees, and they do all the sort of legal and anything to do with education, anything to be housing support. They do all of that. So what we do is we do the nice stuff. We do all the socializing stuff. They're eating the beautiful Syrian food, the dancing. We're learning to dance. We're learning songs at the moment. The exchange. So really, the social gatherings. We do loads of that. We've done amazing cooking workshops with some of the women. We hooked up with Homeground Kitchen, and we did some cooking workshops where what we found out there is that we cook very much the same things. We just put different ingredients in them sometimes. We hooked up with Egg Tooth last summer, and we did some beautiful summer picnics up in the woods where we cooked again over fires. We sang songs and we just hung out. So we do loads of different activities that everyone can get involved in. People are learning Arabic now from one of the Syrian families. They're learning Arabic. We've got Arabic for beginners and Arabic intermediate. We are doing a fantastic sewing workshop called Stitch for Change, where we're also sewing patchwork squares, which will, once the pandemic is over, we'll all get together and sew together this giant quilt. So we're all sewing at the moment. We meet on a Friday and a Thursday on to sew, and they're really lovely workshops. Yeah.
And what countries do the people come? Is it mostly Syria, or is it all over the place?
So at the moment, the Hastings Borough Council is doing what we call the Vulnerable Peoples Resettlement Programme. It initially started with the Syrians, but now we have Sudanese families, and now when it opens up again, which will be next year, it will bring people from the different countries that are in trouble at the moment. But mainly Syrians at the moment. We also work really closely with people who have been dispersed to this area. Now, the people who have been dispersed to this area under the Home Office scheme, they are in a completely different situation from the people who are under the Vulnerable People scheme. So there's two programs. It means that these people often have to live in Home Office accommodation, which sometimes is not very good. But they are given £35 a week to live on. They have
buy with that all their food, and what do they go to a normal shop, or is there a special shop in the camp place?
They have to go to the same shops that we all go to. £35 a week they're given, and they're not allowed to move out of the area. They have to stay in the area. They're closely monitored, and often it's these people who, because they're still going through the process and waiting for their status to be given refugee status, so they're seeking asylum. So we're seeing more and more people like that who are in that situation, especially because we had that space on the seafront when we were doing lots of activities. People were just turning up there, and people who are still going through the asylum seeking process really need our support, because often they're extremely isolated. They won't speak the language. They don't really know what's going on. They don't know how to access a GP appointment and so on. So they really need buddies who can help them navigate the system, or just really meet them for a coffee. So that the kind of, we have two different groups.
So yesterday it was on the news that a boat had turned up on Pet Level Beach with about 10, 12 people in it. What happens to people when they get off the boat?
So my understanding is that when people come off the boats, they have a right to seek refuge. So if they say they're here to seek asylum, they have to go through a process, and it's a legal requirement. They have to be allowed to seek refuge. They have to go to Croydon, to a place called Lunar House.
Oh yes, I know of it.
To seek refuge, and that's when they will. If you seek refuge, that's where you will then be part of the Home Office system, which is the dispersal system. So they could be sent to Hastings, or they're often sent to other towns. They're often sent to I think Manchester is a place that's a dispersal area as well. So so really that when if there's underage children who are unaccompanied, the local authority where they arrive has due responsibility for them. So they
alone children.
More and more children now are arriving, and
just put them on the boat to give them a better life.
Petrified parents are putting them on a boat to say, you go, you get a better life. It's really important for us because they've been arriving in Hastings and in Rye and so on. For us, we have made statements, joint statements with other refugee support organisations in the area. Because it's really important for us to show that there is an alternative narrative here, that there are hundreds and hundreds of local people who welcome refugees and want to support them. Because what we often see in the mainstream media are what we call the haters, and the haters who are basically saying, we don't want refugees and so on. I'm more than happy, and our organisations are more than happy to meet with people who don't want refugees so that we can have a chat. In fact, we could introduce them. I could introduce myself. I'm a refugee. Let's have a chat about this.
What you've given to the country.
Sorry?
What you've given back to the country. When you're asking for refugees. refugees.
Yeah, and there's more and more people who are exactly like me, and I think the ethos of the Buddy Project was so that we could create those connections, because I think that some people may have these attitudes and these opinions, but actually when they meet someone with a refugee background, that opinion will change, because often these people have never met someone who's seeking refuge. They don't know what a refugee looks like. They just have this idea in their head that's been kind of promoted by the mainstream hate media.
To be a refugee, you've got to be a brave kind of person. You've got to want to improve yourself. So they're going to be an asset to any country, aren't they, really? Because they've gone above what they expected to do and have taken risks to get where they want to be.
Yeah, I mean, the refugees that arrived in Hastings, before I was here, they've given so much back to Hastings. You can see it in the culture. You can see it. You can see the shops in St Leonard's. We've got a lovely combination of cultures in St Leonard's. Yeah, exactly. I think it's really important for people who welcome refugees to stand up and be counted as people who will, and who will stand up to the negative narratives of the Home Office, of the hostile environment. It's really important that we stand up and we say we don't support the Home Office stand on the hostile environment.
Yeah. Are there buddy projects in other towns like Ipswich or Felixstowe? So I know he lives there. That's what he's asking.
There must be. I mean, we can find out for people if there. I mean, I know around here there's a fantastic buddy project in Lewis that was started by local people. There's villages of sanctuary in tiny little towns all over East Sussex. Villages of sanctuaries are organisations, towns. They call themselves that because they say we will welcome refugees. I mean, there are some refugees in Wilden, for example, and I know that some of the smaller towns were saying that they were disappointed that they weren't any refugees. So that can definitely put you in touch with some groups if there are any in Felixstowe. Yeah.
I know you probably don't want me to bring this up, but I just want to say, last year you were voted and won Woman of the Year, didn't you? Who was it who gave you the award?
So that's a really lovely award, actually. That was a national network called Migrants Organise and United Nations High Commission for Human Rights. Yes, I won that. That was
proud of you.
Very competitive. I was interviewed for that in London at the United Nations offices for that. But it was one of the best interviews I ever went to, because I went thinking, I'm not really bothered if I get this. I don't need an award to do what I'm doing. But actually, when I came out of that interview, I was so proud of Hastings. I was so proud of what was going on in this town that I just thought, I have to win it. I have to win it for Hastings. People have to know what's going on in Hastings.
I know. I think it's because I'm part of that heart thing, that's helping people in the coronavirus.
Yeah.
They've got more helpers and they've got people wanting help. But people are so lovely and they give their time free, and they're just, I must say, since I've been here, I can't believe the difference to London and here is incredible.
There's a real sense of community here that I hadn't felt for a long time. And when I won that award, people said to me afterwards in the after party, they said, we didn't know that about Hastings. And it suddenly dawned on me, yes, people don't know that about East Sussex and how amazing and warm and welcoming East Sussex people are.
Because I always turned my nose up at the word community. I don't know why. I just think, community. And now I think it was just before Christmas, and there was a party where I was DJing at the Masonic Hall, down the bottom. It was so many different people there, all ages, all types, all just getting together. I know it was aimed to money for the Christmas lights, but that was the first time I really felt, I'm part of a community.
Yeah. I think we have grown away from the concept of community, because I think it was kind of, the concept was really trashed for many years. But I think I think especially now with what's going on with COVID-19, what we've seen is when communities do decide to come together to find solutions to some of the issues that we're facing, the communities are much, much stronger than anything that we'll ever see.
Oh, that's nice.
Look at Bev Francis.
We've also, like, the least people have got it down here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but that's marvellous.
Yeah.
It's some roomy, I guess, and not everyone's all squashed up. We've only got 5 more minutes.
Oh my God.
I've enjoyed this so much because I've learned so much. Got tears in my eyes most of the time. So if anyone's, so we'll have another 10 minutes at the end so people can put their pictures up and we can have a look at them. So if you finish the picture, send it to Isolation Station. And any more questions for or anything else you want to say or you need to say?
Just that go to our website. We've got a Facebook page as well. Find out what we're up to. Let us know if you want to get involved and how you want to get involved. During this time, it's really, really important that we defend refugee and migrant rights, because as we all know, when there's a crisis, it's the most vulnerable people that are often left out if we don't defend their rights. So do get involved. There's a lot going on.
Oh. So we've got 4 more minutes of drawing, if people are still drawing.
I move a lot when I talk. I hope I have.
You've been so still compared to some people. Some people have been up and down, their arms waving like this. You've been marvellous. I'm so looking forward to the pictures. Oh, someone just asked, could you tell them a bit more about your necklace again? Because that's the woman who does embroidery, because she's forgotten she didn't hear the story fully.
So this is lapis lazuli. It's lapis lazuli, and it was given to me by my mum, who was an amazing woman. I always tell everybody about that. And it's got a lapis lazuli spider, and the spider is in the shape of a Mapuche symbol. Mapuches are the indigenous people of Latin America, and I'll tell you an interesting story about them if I've got time. But the spider means creative woman, and when the indigenous people of Latin America, I don't know if you very short history on the conquest of Latin America by the Spanish. They got to the south of Chile, and there's this very, very violent river on the south of Chile, and I come from the other side of that. The Spanish, for 100 years, fought. They couldn't get across that river. So the people who come from across that river, like me, we're really indigenous looking. We have the most indigenous features of Latin America, and we're very proud that we have Mapuche indigenous features. That's where this comes from.
Oh, that's a lovely story. Mm-hmm. Oh, people are saying how lovely you are. And they're very interested. Oh, I think they're all thrilled. Craig from asking about Ipswich, he's going to get his parents involved. See if they can help up there. Oh, there we are. Look, see, they all love. Oh, I love doing these little classes, because although I know everyone who's been on it, I've learned so much more about and everything. Yeah. They were so thrilled by what you were saying, they stopped drawing. Oh,
that's amazing. Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow, this has been lovely. So I'm so glad you invited me to take part in this. I know. Well, it feels a few hours, doesn't it, when you're locked down? It does. It really does. And I mean, I love talking about the project. So yeah, any chance I get to talk. You won't be able to move now for volunteers. Everyone will be coming and volunteering. Well, that sounds fantastic to me. Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. What's in that bowl behind you? The bowl? No, the tartan thing. What? Oh, that's all my threads, because... Oh, I thought it was knitting on material or something. Yeah, it's all threads for the patchwork work that we're doing. In fact, when I first came to Hastings, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to do some sewing, and I'm doing it now under lockdown. And join us to do it. Oh, everyone's just saying how much they love it. And they want the link to the refugee page. Yeah. I think that'll be up as well. Oh, Despo's desperate to volunteer. You know, No, I don't think so.
Oh, is she lovely?
Oh, lovely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
She's lived here all her life, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah, so everyone's popular, see?
Yeah, someone there wants to come to the sewing classes. That's brilliant. I can send you the link.
Oh, Kim was crying. She
Oh.
I must say, I got little tears in my eyes at one point.
Oh, that's really lovely. Oh, look at all these. Oh, look, it's Kathy. Yay.
Oh,
See you in
in
the garden.
Oh.
We want to have a garden party, a socially distanced garden party.
So has anyone managed to finish a drawing? If they have.
Oh, I'd love to see a drawing.
Do you know Luli, who runs, you know, that new cafe at the top of London Road, Sugar Pie Honey Buns?
Yeah. Yeah.
Luli runs that.
Yeah. Is she? Are they opening it?
The job centre years ago. So, you know, here, everyone you meet
Yes.
knows, and you all mix up and that. It's weird, isn't it?
Really? Yeah.
The people we know don't know each other, do they?
I know. Everyone
I meet here, we've got mutual friends. It's lovely.
I was so happy when the Marina Fountain opened, the Fountain of Queens opened because they're Wayne and all of that. They know my brothers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they know my brothers from London, from clubs and so on. So that was really nice as well.
Oh, right. So, have we got any pictures, Katie, that we can have a look at? Has any arrived? Oh,
look!
I knew who they were by, but that's lovely.
The necklace. Oh. That's lovely.
Very youthful. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I charted that, but it's gorgeous.
Oh, look at these. I absolutely love them. Absolutely gorgeous.
Can't read the signatures. But when they go up, we'll have all the names there. Oh, they're lovely.
They're really beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
That person, she always puts the words that you're saying around it.
That's so beautiful.
Oh, you've got a very thin face there. Lovely. That's nice. Oh, that's a nice one.
Wow.
I think that's Jennifer. Oh, that's lovely.
Oh, gorgeous.
I think it's Jennifer Corker who did that one with the spider.
Oh.
I think and I'm beginning to see what people have done.
Yeah.
Style.
And do I get to show these on my Facebook? Can I share?
Yeah. What happens is Katie will make a big gallery of them, and then you can share those on your Facebook, and people can like them and comment and whatever.
Oh, I'm dying to share them.
Yeah.
Oh, my mother sounds amazing. Yeah, my mum was an absolutely amazing, beautiful woman. Yeah, I think is that our time over now, or? Is that our time gone now, or?
No, we can have another few minutes.
Okay. Yeah. No, my mum was a. I kind of wonder sometimes how she had the strength to do all the things that she did with 4 children.
I know.
I
age more or less.
Yeah.
Year apart.
I've got a cat, and she's quite high maintenance. I can just about manage her.
And is your dad still alive?
No, he passed away as well. Yeah.
But you're still in touch with all your brothers and sisters?
Oh yes. I've got two brothers and a sister. My sister still lives in Edinburgh, and she's got a boy, a giant of a boy. And my brothers are all in London. I've got some beautiful nieces and nephews. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, right. Oh, Vanessa, people don't know where to post it. So if you go into Isolation Station Hastings, you can post it to them. But if you can't manage that, you can just message it to me and I'll pass it on. But it's easier if you send it to Isolation Station Hastings, just by messenger. But if you can't find it, send it to me. Oh, yeah, Davey likes your pictures.
My pictures?
Yeah.
I've got Tiff McGuinness in the background. Oh, does he like the picture?
Oh, which one's Tiff? Which one's her?
That one there.
Oh, yeah.
Basket. That's a Tiff McGuinness. I won that in a raffle.
Oh, she suffered with the coronavirus, isn't she?
really ill. Yeah, I think she's feeling better now, though.
Good.
Yeah.
That's relief.
Yeah.
Well, have we got any more pictures arrived, Katie, or is that it for the time being? Poor Katie, she has to just sit there all alone while I boss her about.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm really looking forward to seeing all the pictures posted on my Facebook.
Let me see if I've got. No one sent them to me. They've all been very good and sent them to the right place. Marvellous. Well, everyone, I think that's it for this week. I just can't thank you enough, Rossana. That was so enjoyable, and it's just so inspiring to hear all that. And I really hope that everyone's going to come and help and have a different idea about refugees. I'm sure all the people on this like refugees, but you know, there's some people you just think, what's going through your head?
Yeah.
But anyway, does France take any refugees? This is just a question.
Yes, they do.
Got so much space there. Some
They have, haven't they? They've got all that countryside.
No one about, and I've realised they've got a population the same as us and 3 times more space, and everywhere seemed deserted. You think they'd some to fill the place up?
Yeah.
But that was me being ridiculous. But it does seem weird that a country with so much space.
Yeah, there's some kind of rule in France that I don't want to sound too silly that I don't know much about, but something about living in the land, and you know, you have to kind of, if you live in the countryside.
Around in the background.
Oh, that's my man being noisy.
I'm always bumped. The only time I ever see him is in Marks and Spencer's. Always bumping into him there.
Oh wow, look at that. That's lovely.
Oh well, thank you so much. And the pictures will be up soon, I promise. Oh, that Paul Heron DJ. Do you know him? I don't know your brothers.
Oh yeah. Oh,
lives down the road. Oh, Ella Garou's doing it. Fantastic. Oh, Michelle enjoyed it. She'd have done a lovely picture of you, I'm sure.
Amazing.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I don't want to say goodbye. I feel like, ooh. So next week, our model is Wayne Sharps, landlord of the Fountain, but he's got a story to tell. There won't be so much about helping refugees, but it's still a story. Oh, Emma, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And tomorrow as well, I've got my quiz at 8 o'clock on Isolation Station, if you want to do that. It's got a northern theme tomorrow, but it's the usual old pop music, films, telly. And my niece is performing because she's got a fantastic Yorkshire accent, so she's going to be reading one round out. So thank you again, Rossana. That was fantastic. It really, really was. And if you want to show it to any of your friends or anybody, if you get the link, it's still there kind of forever. So you can show
great.
And that. So you can post it on your, and people can watch it again.
Great. Okay, I'll have a look.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.